Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating story of survival. It's about how a community, supposedly on the very brink of extinction, built this secret, sophisticated network that managed to operate for centuries, right under the nose of a global empire. All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. We're looking at this story in 5 parts. We'll start with a dramatic prophecy that really set the stage, then we'll get into the covert tactics they used to rebuild, and finally, we'll see what this history might teach us about power today. So, where does this all start? Well, it kicks off with this really powerful idea that ancient prophecies, found in a bunch of different traditions, actually pointed to the people of Iran playing a central role in some future world-altering event. Now, according to this source, one of these prophecies had this amazing linguistic clue. It said an army rising from the Khorasan region wouldn't be shouting their battle cry in Arabic, but in Persian. And that's not just some small military detail, right? It's a cultural one. It was all about defining who this group was and exactly where they came from. So you see, this belief in a prophesied destiny, it became their anchor. It gave them a purpose that went way beyond just surviving day to day. It fueled this long-term vision of resilience that carried them through centuries of incredible hardship. Okay, so that's the why. But what about the how? How did they actually put this into practice? Well, according to the source, after the devastating massacre at Karbala almost wiped them out, they had a realization: open rebellion was just suicide. They needed a completely new strategy. So instead of swords and armies, their new weapon was influence. The whole strategy was to win hearts and minds, one person at a time. This was a long game, a deep investment built on the belief that you can't command true loyalty. You have to earn it. And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale here, the source points to a staggering number, nearly 20,000. That's supposedly how many slaves they purchased, educated in their philosophy, and then just set free. They were literally turning property into a passionate, mobile army of advocates. And the source tells this one incredible story that shows the method in action. So a slave accidentally causes the death of the Imam's child. Now, you'd expect a brutal punishment, right? But instead, he's forgiven, he's freed, and he's given startup capital. I mean, can you imagine the kind of loyalty that act of radical grace would inspire? That creates an ambassador way more powerful than any threat ever could. Okay, so you've got all these new, loyal followers. What's next? You have to organize them. And this led to the creation of a really sophisticated network for moving money and messages, one that, according to the source, was designed from the ground up to operate in plain sight. Check out this example of their tradecraft. You've got an oil seller going door to door. He's not just selling oil, he's a courier. By using these totally mundane, everyday jobs as cover, they could pass critical information right under the authorities' noses. The key rate was to hide in the open. And the narrative also draws this brilliant contrast between two very different economic models. On one hand, you have this state's ruler, the caliph, who gave out small handouts to keep people dependent on him. But the Imams network, they did the exact opposite. They gave out large grants designed to create self-sufficiency. It's like seed money for an ancient Uber, enough capital to build a business, a life, and a loyal, self-sustaining community. And the lengths they went to for secrecy, I mean, it's just astounding. To protect their most valuable agents, leaders would sometimes publicly curse them, disown them. It was a brutal act of misdirection. But think about the incredible trust involved. It was a sacrifice made to throw the spies off the scent and keep the entire network safe. But you can't operate in the shadows forever. The narrative explains that a new leader, Imam Reza, decided to go public. And this move, it triggered a massive crackdown from the state and completely changed the rules of the game. And you can really see the risk just ramping up here. The strategy shifts from this quiet, covert rebuilding to an open challenge against the caliphate. And once that happened, boom, the state apparatus clamped down hard, placing the movement's leaders under permanent house arrest. So you've got all this pressure from the outside, but at the same time, cracks start to appear on the inside. Multiple schisms began to splinter the community, which sowed a ton of confusion over who was really in charge. And the source suggests that this division was actually encouraged by the state itself. And one of these fractures, well, it turned out to be a massive intelligence disaster. According to the source, a breakaway sect, the Ismailis, started using the exact same covert playbook. This effectively leaked their entire operational manual to state security, and now the authorities knew exactly what and who to look for. So after all that, what's the takeaway from this incredible history? The source argues it holds a really powerful lesson about what it takes to create change, both back then and today. And this is where we get to the core argument of the source. It contrasts the power of that historical, unseen network, where everyone was a part of this larger, resilient team, with our modern obsession with individual heroes, who can so easily become a single point of failure. And the source leaves us with this really provocative question. Why can one small group organize to shape the world, while a much, much larger one can't seem to get it together? The answer it suggests is because we've forgotten how to work as a disciplined, collective network. We've started favoring individual glory over group success. So that leaves us with a pretty big idea to chew on. If the most powerful forces in the world are the ones we can't see, the ones operating through these quiet, disciplined, decentralized networks, how does that change our understanding of how the world really works?